you be free from the burden of sin? There's power in the blood, power in the blood. Would you or evil a victory win? There's wonderful power in the blood. There's power, power, wonder-working power in the blood of the Lamb. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the precious blood of the Lamb. Would you be free from your passion and pride? There's power in the blood, power in the blood. Come for cleansing to Calvary's time. There's wonderful power in the blood. There's power, power, wonder-working power in the blood of the Lamb. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the precious blood of the Lamb. Would you do service for Jesus your King? There's power in the blood, power in the blood. Praises to sing. There's wonderful power in the blood. There's power, power, wonder-working power in the blood of the Lamb. There is power, power, wonder-working power in the precious blood of the Lamb. One more time. There's power, power, wonder-working power in the blood of the Lamb. There is power, power, there's wonder-working power in the precious blood of the Lamb. Alright, you can draw me a line in the sand. I won't be standing by your side, holding your hand. Kingdom come, let it live in me. This is my prayer, this is my plea. Alright, you can draw in a line in the sand. I wanna be standing by your side, holding your hand. Let your kingdom come, let it live in me. This is my prayer, this is my plea. Yeah, worshipers, alright. Let the sons and daughters sing. I surrender my all. I surrender to the King. I'll sing it again. Let the worshipers arise. Let the sons and daughters sing. I surrender my all. I surrender to the King. Father, I hear growing louder the song of your redeemed. As the saints of all creation awaken me to sing. In our heart there is an anthem. Oh, let it ring. This is my prayer. It's our song, a song to our King. Let the sons and daughters sing. I surrender my all. that is yet awaiting me. My life's not over, but new beginnings just begun. I have this hope, I have this hope. God has a plan for me. It's not to harm me, it's to prosper me, and to hear me when I call. Be prepared, working all things for my good, though trials may come. I have this hope. I will yet praise Him, my great Redeemer. I will yet stand up, give Him glory with my life. He takes my darkness and then He turns it into light. I will yet praise Him, my Lord, my God. God has a plan for me. It's not too hard. So tell me whom then, tell me whom then shall I fear? He's prepared for me. Great works He'll help me to complete. I have this hope, I have this hope. Listen to this part right here. Goodness and mercy, they're gonna follow me, and I'll forever dwell in the house of my great King. No eyes have ever seen all He's preparing there for me. I have this hope, I have this hope. I will yet praise Him, my great Redeemer. I will yet stand and give Him glory with my life. He takes my darkness and He turns it into light. I will yet praise Him, my Lord, my God. There's still hope for me today, 'cause the God of heaven loves me. There's still hope for me today, 'cause the God of heaven loves me. I will yet praise Him, my great Redeemer. Yeah. I will yet stand up, give Him glory with my life. He takes my darkness and He turns it into light. I will yet praise Him, my Lord, my Lord, my God.
Father, as we have come to the part of this service to give back, Father, I pray you take what's given, bless it in a mighty way, use it to glorify your kingdom. In Jesus' name, amen.
In a time of war, be peace. In a time of doubt, just believe. Yeah, there ain't that much difference between you and me. In a time full of war, be peace. The world filled with hate, be a light. When you do somebody wrong, make it right. Don't hide in the dark, you were born to shine. World filled with hate, be a light. In a time of change, in a place that needs a change, make a difference. In a time of noise, all just listen. For life is but a breeze, you better live it. In a place that needs a change, be a difference. World, hey, be alive. When you do somebody wrong, make it right. Don't hide in the dark, you were born to shine. World filled with hate, be alive. Well, life is just a race, let's slow it down. We only get one go around, and the finish line is I'm heaven bound. Life is just a race, let's slow it down. Oh, be alive. When you do somebody wrong, make it right. Don't hide in the dark, you were born to shine. World filled with hate, be alive. In a world filled with hate, be alive. Be alive.
Amen. Amen. Children's Church, go with Miss Glenda. Miss Amy, I mean. Yes. Yeah, I'm glad you said that. It's on there. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Stanley, turn them lights on. Thank you, Jason and Darren and Josh, for the awesome worship music. All week, well, not all week, but for about the last week and a half, I was planning on preaching out of Jonah today. And but about halfway through this week, it changed. And anyways, we're going to look at some stories today in the New Testament, some miracles that Jesus performed, and we're going to see how they affect us, and what can we learn out of these miracles, and how different people responded in them. So, if you have a Bible, and you should, I'd like to invite you to open it to the book of Mark, chapter 5. The book of Mark, chapter 5. We're going to go through this entire chapter. We're going to see three different people that were changed by Jesus Christ. And then we'll kind of dive into how they affect us. Chapter 5 of Mark, verse 1 says, "Then they came to the other side of the sea, to the country of the however you say that word. I want to say Gardenias, but that's not right. And when he had come out of the boat, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling among the tombs, and no one could bind him, not even with chains, because he had often been bound with shackles and chains, and the chains had been pulled apart by him, and the shackles broken in pieces, neither could anyone tame him." Now that's a strong man, ain't it? I mean, be put in shackles and they can't even hold him, and he's basically just roaming around controlling this cemetery, if you will. And it says in verse 5, "And always, night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying out and cutting himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from afar, he ran and worshipped him, and cried out with a loud voice and said, 'What have I to do with you, Jesus, Son of the Most High God, I implore you by God that you do not torment me. Now, who do you think God's listening to? The unclean, evil spirits or himself in the flesh? And he says that you do not torment me. For he said to him, come out of the man, unclean spirit. Then he asked him, what is your name? And he answered, saying, my name is Legion, for we are many. Also he begged him earnestly that he would not send them out of the country. Now a large herd of swine was feeding there near the mountains. So all the demons begged him, saying, send us to the swine that we may enter them. And at once Jesus gave them permission. Then the unclean spirits went out and entered the swine. There were about 2,000. And the herd ran violently down the steep place into the sea and drowned in the sea. So those who fed the swine fled, and they told it in the city and in the country. And they went out to see what it was that had happened. Then they came to Jesus and saw the one who had been demon-possessed and had the legion, sitting and clothed and in his right mind. And they were afraid. And those who saw it told them how it happened to him who had been demon-possessed and about the swine. Well, you think that wasn't a good story? To sit around people going like, you wouldn't believe it. He was possessed and Jesus was talking to him, and all of a sudden all the spirits went into these pigs and they started running, and I was thinking, man, there goes a lot of bacon, and they ran down and jumped into the ocean and drowned themselves. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but when I read stories in the Bible, I try to picture them in my head of kind of how it took place. Now, most of them's probably way far-fetched. That's just my mind. But I can just imagine this story and them telling them about it. It says, then they began to plead with him to depart from their region. And when he got in the boat, he who had been demon-possessed begged him that he might be with him. However, Jesus did not permit him, but said to him, go home to your friends and tell them what great things the Lord has done for you and how he has had compassion on you. And he departed and began to proclaim in Decapolis all that Jesus had done for him, and all marveled. Boy, how that could affect us. That Jesus saying, go tell people what I've done for you. Tell them the compassion that I had on you. You see, folks, all of us really and truly deserve to die because we're all sinners. We're all a bunch of sinners. And we deserved death and hell. But Jesus had so much compassion on us that he brought us out of darkness into light. He brought us out of the grave. We may as well have been Lazarus and him calling us out of the grave, because that's where we were. We were dead with no hope, and he called us out into hope. He keeps going. It says, now when Jesus had crossed over again by boat to the other side, a great multitude gathered to him, and he was by the sea. And behold, one of the rulers of the synagogue came, Jairus by name. And when he saw him, he fell at his feet and begged him earnestly, saying, my little daughter lies at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her, that she may be healed, and she will live. So Jesus went with him. and a great multitude followed him and thronged him. Now a certain woman had a flow of blood for 12 years and had suffered many things from many physicians. She had spent all that she had and was no better, but rather grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came behind him in the crowd and touched his garment. For she said, if only I may touch his clothes, I shall be made well. Immediately, the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of the affliction. And Jesus, immediately knowing in himself that power had gone out of him, turned around in the crowd and said, who touched my clothes? Now, listen, I want you to understand. He's just cast 2,000 demons out of somebody into some pigs. They ran down, drowned themselves, jumped in the ocean. Now he goes back across the sea. This preacher, if you will, the ruler of the synagogue, Jairus, he comes up and goes, hey, Jesus, my daughter is sick at home. We need you. I need you to come with me to just touch her that she may live. And they start walking. And listen, guys, by this time, look, everybody wants to talk about the crowds that Elvis drew and the Beatles drew and the kids on the block or the new kids on the block or the old kids on the block now. I don't know, whatever. And they want to talk about, you talking about a crowd. Jesus drew a crowd. People were talking about Jesus. And all these people are there. They're hearing these stories. They're hearing about 2,000 pigs running and jumping into the ocean and drowning themselves. They're hearing all these stories, and they're wanting to follow Jesus, and they're all around, and everybody's around. I can only imagine. You ever see like a superstar or the president going through a crowd, and the people around are like pushing back, just trying to make room to walk? And all of a sudden, Jesus feels something. And he stops and he turns around and says, who touched me? Who touched me? I felt power go out of my body. Listen to what the disciples say. Oh, what a great comment. It says, but his disciples said to him, you see the multitude thronging you, and you ask who touched you? Like they was like, Jesus, how are we supposed to know? There's people everywhere. There's crowds pushing through. They're trying to get to you. And he looked around to see her who had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell down before him and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your affliction. While he was still speaking, some came from the ruler of the synagogue's house who said, your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further? So imagine being Jairus, and you've come and you said, Jesus, my daughter's sick. Please go home with me. Touch her. Make her well. And they start walking in this crowd, and this lady touches him, and all this scene takes place. Now, think about it from Jairus' perspective. He's probably thinking in his head, or let's just say it's what I'd be thinking. We ain't got time to mess with this woman. We got to get home so you can heal my daughter. And Jesus stops and he deals with this woman, and she falls down and she says these things, and he has this, as he's having this conversation, somebody runs up into the crowd and says, hey, Jairus, she died. There's no sense in bothering Jesus anymore. Just let him be. She's gone. She's dead. And Jesus said, as soon as Jesus heard the word that was spoken, he said to the ruler of the synagogue, do not be afraid, only believe. And he permitted no one to follow him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. Then he came to the house of the ruler of the synagogue and saw a tumult and those who wept and wailed loudly. When he came in, he said to them, why make this commotion and weep? The child is not dead, but sleeping. And they ridiculed him. He comes, just imagine this, him showing up and everybody's crying. I mean, I can only imagine the distraughtness. Is that a word? Distraughtness? It is now. The distraughtness that they had, the pain that they were experiencing of losing this daughter or sister or niece or friend. And they were all around pretty much having a funeral, crying, hugging each other. Jesus gets there and he goes, hey, what's this all about? She's just asleep. Well, listen, I'm not no genius, but I know the difference between dead and sleep. And if Jesus walked up to a funeral home or a hospital where somebody had been pronounced dead and said, they're just asleep, all the people there, some versions say that they laughed at him. Has anybody got a version that says that? Yes. They laughed at him. They mocked him. They made fun of him and said, ha, 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 ha. Oh, man, you're funny. That's real funny. We know the difference between dead and sleep. And they started making fun of him. And then Jesus done something that was astonishing. He says, when he had put them all outside, he took the father and the mother of the child and those who were with him, those disciples, and entered where the child was lying. Now I want you to think about one more thing before we finish this story. What about Jairus in this story? Jairus has come and he gets home. He'd already heard his daughter was dead. He gets home. All of his family, his friends, they're all there to support him in the death of his child. And Jesus walks in and says the child sleeps, and they start making fun of him. He said, get out! Get out of here! Right now! Because, see, he didn't need any unbelief around in the place. He kicked all them out. Now, Jairus very easily could have said, who do you think you are? This is my house. Don't you treat my friends like this. You're not going to talk to my family like this. But no. Jairus just let Jesus have rule over the house. Some of us need to go to our own houses and kick some of the sin out and kick some of the bad stuff out so that faith and truth can reign. We need to give Christ full control over everything like Jairus did. Says, then he took the child by the hand and said to her, Talitha cumi, which is translated, little girl, I say to you, arise. Immediately the girl arose and walked, for she was 12 years of age, and they were overcome with great amazement. You think? I bet they were. I bet they were going, what? What just happened? And it says, but he commanded them strictly that no one should know it, and said that something should be given to her to eat. Man, what 3 amazing miracles in one chapter that all, in some ways, ties together. One, you got this crazed man who's possessed with demons, and Jesus heals him. He wants to go with Jesus, and Jesus says, hey, listen, I don't need you over here. I want you to go tell everybody what I've done for you. Do you know he says the same thing to you when you become a believer? He wants you to share with the lost people what He's done in your life. Our job, I don't care, some of you going, but I'm an introvert. Or I'm an extrovert. Yeah, I like to talk to certain people. Listen, I don't care what you are. Jesus needs and wants you to go share the good news with others. I can't recall anybody in the Bible that Jesus basically said, just do nothing. Just do nothing. I mean, but of course, go to church on Sunday. Darren, what did you put the heat on? It is hotter than blazes in here. Oh, you was thinking about Kachina for once. I know it's hot up there, Brian and Cora. I don't know how y'all stand in it. But he says, go and share it with them. Then this guy named Jairus, and I preached just this sermon about Jairus one time, and I said that really I wanted to look at it from different perspectives. Look at it from Jairus' daughter's perspective. And I named the title of that sermon, What Jairus' Daughter Saw. She saw a parent, a man, a daddy that loved her so much, he was willing to go as far as it took for her. Then she saw a man, a parent, a daddy that was willing to give Jesus full control of his house and his life. She saw a man, a parent, a daddy that loved her so much. Think about what she saw. From the parent's perspective, sometimes it's kind of easy for us to go, well, I mean, yeah, we do that stuff for our kids. But does your kids see that in you? Does your kids see a parent, a person that's willing to go in and say, hey, I don't care, baby, if you like Xbox and that game, if I hear that filth one more time, I'm chunking it out of here. I know that this is a good TV show with just a little bit of bad stuff in it. If I hear it again, I'm kicking it out of here. You see, we sometimes let a little will turn into a lot. I've told y'all before, I don't understand when are they going to be parents again instead of best friends? Listen, I love my kids and I consider myself friends with them, but number one, I'm their parent. And some of you letting your kids go and do some of the things that they go and do and some of the things that they wear, and the shirts are plumb down to here and the shorts are plumb up to here. They shop at Abercrombie and Fitch. Is that the name of it, Alexa? Abercrombie and Fitch? Oh, man, you too. And it's just anything goes because we want to be their friend. Oh, well, I just want to be friends. We're going to be best buds our whole life. Shame on you. Be their parent first. Jerk a knot in their rear end sometimes. Pull a belt off or a switch or a wooden spoon or a paddle or something. We just let everything goes. Reminds me, and I told this a long time ago, so if you've heard it before, mind your own business. But these kids, they come in and they tell their daddy, there's a movie out, and we want to go see it so bad. Well, okay, what is it? Well, Dad, before you ask, it's a great movie, Dad. A great movie. It's just got a little bit of vulgarity in it. Just a little bit of nudity and a couple of cuss words. But Dad, it is a great movie. All my friends are talking about it. All spirit fingers. And he says, let me think about it for a couple of days and I'll give you an answer. So a couple of days go by and the kids come running in. And they come in. They're like, where's Daddy? And it's like, he's in the kitchen. They go in the kitchen. He's got this big, beautiful pan of brownies. Thick brownies with chocolate icing over them. Good brownies with walnuts in them. And they was like, Dad, do you got an answer? Do you got an answer? He says, yeah. He says, I got an answer. And I'm going to let you go. But first, you got to have one of these brownies with me. They said, okay, Daddy, okay. And he said, but before you have one, let me tell you, it's got the finest ingredients known to man. It's got the Hershey's cocoa, not that off-brand stuff at not great value at Walmart. The Hershey. If you ever make chocolate gravy with Hershey's cocoa, you've had chocolate gravy. I mean, it's thebomb.com, bomb diggity dong. It's good. He says it's got the best Hershey's cocoa. It's got Martha White flour. It's got Domino pure granulated sugar. It's got Planters premium walnuts in it. It is made with the top of the line, and I put it all together and I stirred it up. And right before I put it in the pan to cook it, I went outside in the yard and I got one pinch, just a small pinch of dog poo. And I put it, can I say dog poo preaching? Good. Sorry, it's my sermon. And I put this little pinch of dog poo in there. Lisa, you said there's never a dull moment here. And I stirred it up. And I got that dog poo in there. And I poured it in and I cooked it. But it's just a little bit of dog poo. It's not that much dog poo, a little bit. He cuts the brownies. He scoops one out on the plate. And the kid said, Dad, we get it. We get it. You see, a little bit can ruin a lot of bit. Some of us need to clean house. We need to give full reign to Christ. And let Him go in and say, get that out of here. My granny used to come outside like they'd be stray cats. And they'd come up. She'd go out the back door and she'd open that door up and she'd say, shoot, Tom, your tail's in the gravy. I was like, what? Scat, Tom, or shoot, Tom, your tail's in the gravy. What in the world does that mean? But I realized that's what we need to do with the things that's in our life. We need to say, shoo on out of here. Scat on out of here. Because you talking about you wanting to walk with Christ, you wanting to be close, you wanting to be a Christian to make a difference in your family and your friends, just a little bit of dog poo will ruin you. Jason, you coming? My question is this. For the parents here, does Jesus got full control of your house? Does He got full control of everything? Does your children, when they look at you, they see a woman, a mother, a person, or a husband, or a wife, or a dad? Do they see one that's willing to let Jesus have full control? For you People that's suffering with an issue of whatever it might be, and you've been struggling, and you've been going away, and you've spent money on all these different things, doctors and psychos and all the things that go on. Why don't you just reach out and touch the hem of His garment? He's got so much power in Him that He can flow. It even flowed through His clothes. Maybe you're here and you've been consumed with demons. And maybe it's a lot, maybe it's a few. Said Jesus was the one who gave them permission to get out of him. Jesus was the one who said, "Scat, I want out of him." It's kind of what He said. Maybe you need to come to Him today and say, "Lord, would you help me with this? It's too big for me. It's too big. I'm running like a wild man. I'm running all over the place. Would you help me?" I don't know where you are. I don't know what's going on in your life. But unfortunately, I believe through the statistics that I see and I read is that most Christians have things in their life that either A, they know is not supposed to be there and that they should get rid of, or and B, know it shouldn't be there, but yet they want to hold on to it. Well, Jesus would understand. Jesus would understand. Do you think the little girl would have got up and walked, had all that unbelief stuck around? I don't know. I mean, He'd do whatever He wants to. But I know this, He kicked them out for a reason. What about you today? Would you stand with us?